There, welcome to Live by Design, a place where I hope you'll find content that is informative, inspiring, and insightful. I'm your host, Mwadi Debinga. I'm a life strategist. I'm a yoga instructor. I'm a consultant. What else do I do? A whole bunch of other things. And today is Thursday, February 1st, 2018. How's it going? How's your week going? Hopefully yours is going well. Mine is. I had the opportunity this week to go to two events at one of my niece's school. I saw her swim meet, her orchestra performance, and I love children. I love young people. I love having children in my family. I love having them. They're my kids, and so I've had a really good last couple of days where I've got to spend really good time with my nephews and my nieces, quality time that I really enjoy. So hopefully your week is going well too. And I've been kind of busy with work, which has been kind of fun. But I'm here. This is my second week in a row. I'm being consistent this year. That was my goal for myself. Hopefully you're being consistent with your goals too, right? So statistically, by now, most people have totally abandoned every single goal, every single commitment that they said that they were going to make for the new year. Sometimes I think what happens with people is that they get very ambitious, they get very excited, they get caught up in the new year energy, and they make unrealistic goals rather, that are not really in line with what they really want, not in line with their capacity at the moment, and not attached to any real action. They don't create a real strategy. They say what they want, but don't create a strategy as to how they're going to go about pursuing what they want, and end up getting stuck and frustrated and then ultimately give up. Now, it's my belief that we're not totally responsible for our successes. I think we co-create that with the divine consciousness, God. People call it the entity by a lot of different names. That's my personal opinion. But I do think that we are responsible for our attitude and our behavior, our actions. How things turn out, how things manifest, sometimes that's out of our control. But the things that we can control in pursuit of our dreams are our goals, what we do, and our attitude about how we move, etc. So if you find yourself falling off at this time of the year, sometimes, not often, it's about maybe you didn't want the goal that you set out to go for. Maybe it's not really in line with who you are. But then oftentimes what happens is we get caught into our old habits and our old thinking. Once the excitement of the new year subsides and we have to actually get to work and be consistent in our work to see the results that we want, we tend to fall off. Now, one of the other things that happens is that even though you may want a goal and you're working towards it, sometimes your old behaviors are hard to shake, and your old consciousness sort of seeps in when you feel challenged or when you feel stressed, and that also keeps you from getting forward momentum and getting what you want. It happens to me. People look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're a life coach. That means that you must always feel great and feel optimistic." And no, that's not true. There's nothing further from the truth. As a matter of fact, that's not always the case. Like you, we, me, right? I oftentimes every day get visited by an old behavior, an old thought, an old way of being, an old way of doing that can, if I'm not careful, keep me from getting what I want and keep me from moving forward in my life. I'll give you a perfect example. Last week, some of y'all know I was in Boston visiting with one of my clients, one of my strategic planning clients. They've been one of my clients for about maybe 3 or 4 years now. Love them, do great work with them. And the executive director had asked me to facilitate a training for them. And we had a call like we always do, touch base, have the speaking points. And then I took it upon myself. I always go back, make an agenda, send it to him for his review. We usually tweak, tighten it up, and then I deliver the training. So this time we had the conversation and I thought we were on the same page. I made up this agenda, the work plan, all this good stuff. And I sent it to him and I got an email back from him saying this was not what I was looking for. Now, for people who know me, one of the things that I've always been challenged with is being a little bit of a perfectionist / people pleaser when it comes to my work. When I started working, I've been working since I was 13. I've always made it my mission to do the best job that I can. So never being late, taking my work very, very seriously, really trying not to make any mistakes, because I didn't realize, particularly when I was coming up, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's not the making of the mistakes so much as how you correct those mistakes. That really defines who you are as a leader, as a manager. But back in the day, getting any type of disapproval, any type of indication that what I did was not on par with what was needed in the workspace, that threw me over the edge. And now fast forward, now I'm 50, right? I'm not 13 anymore. And I still sometimes have that feeling of, is the work that I'm doing good enough? Is the work that I'm doing meeting the expectations of my client? And I happen to be a rock star in my field. And I don't say that to brag. There are 1,000,001 things that I do not do well. And we don't have enough time in this space, or it will take 10 shows to list half of the things that I'm totally incompetent at. And I'm fine with that. But when it comes to my business, strategic planning, coaching, this field, this area, I dominate my lane. I'm pretty good, pretty great actually. So when I get feedback that I missed the mark or something that I'm suggesting is not on point, all of those feelings of, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, he's disappointed in me, they're going to get another person, all that stuff, it just boils up. And so when I got the email, I feel myself getting anxious about it right now as we speak. Let me calm myself down. When I got the email and I saw that, my heart sank. And all of the negative thinking, all of those things that I've been working on, they sort of bubbled up. So my old self started just coming back up to the surface. And if I was not conscious about the triggers, and if I was not conscious about what that reaction was, I could have let that self take me over. But I didn't. Now, when I'm visited by my old self, my old feelings, my old way of being, my old way of looking at the world, rather than allowing those emotions, those feelings to just take over and run amok and have my life go off track, I have things in my toolkit, in my toolbox, that allow me to sort of pull back and get it together before I completely go off the rails. So in this particular case, I saw the email and I just let myself feel it all. It's like I just sat there and I looked at that computer and I felt the heart racing and the doom gloom coming in and all the anxiety. And I just sort of let it sort of be. I didn't try to resist it or say that it wasn't there. I didn't try to go into positive thinking, oh, it's going to work out great, it's going to work out great, it's going to work out great. No, I just let myself sit there and be miserable for a couple of good minutes. Because sometimes, what you resist persists. That's what I heard Eckhart Tolle say. I know others have said it. I heard him say it for the first time. And so when you push against the feeling or try to bottle it down, it will out. The truth will always out. So it'll bleed out somewhere else in your life. So rather than shoving it back down and maybe overeating or doing something I shouldn't do to try to lose that feeling of not feeling good in that moment, I just sort of let it take me over. And I observed myself and I just sort of sat there in that discomfort for what felt like a couple of hours. And so when I let that happen, I just started to breathe and I started to relax. And over time, the feelings started to go away. I'll be honest, I took a break, started watching Midsummer Murders on Netflix and, did a couple other things. I think did I get on Facebook? I did some escapism stuff. I just sort of, went off and just did my own thing. I pushed away from the computer eventually, and I just let it go because I knew that in that state of ill ease that nothing good was going to come, right? So I pulled myself away from the situation. I allowed myself to feel what I was feeling. I didn't allow it to just sort of go on forever, but I did allow myself to feel what it felt like, to feel anxious, to feel not good enough, to feel all those things. And then I started to just pull back. So after maybe like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, I started to breathe. I got in my journal and just wrote it all out. I pulled out some of my meditation CDs, some of the ones that I have, particularly by Michael Bernard Beckwith, which always helped to get me back in perspective. And I got it together. I called the client. I apologized immediately. I'm so sorry I missed the mark. Let's revisit the conversation again to see if I can get closer to what it is that you're looking for. And I had never had to do that before in this work. Since I've been since I've been a consultant, I've always, I've been pretty good. So I've never had to do that before, but I did it. And he explained, okay, let's do this. Let's dial it back and talk, reverse a little bit and revisit the conversation. This is what I'm looking for, blah, 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 blah. So I really listened to him. I said, okay, I think I got it. Again, I'm sorry I was off track, but now I think I'm clear. Thank you for taking the time to explain it to me again. I'll send you something else. So we got off the phone. And I ended up spending a couple of hours on it. I was up to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Next day I had to teach a 6 a.m. yoga class, but I was determined to stay up and get it done. So I got up, got it done, sent it to him. He was like, this is it. Boom, perfect. I made it through the class that I had to teach. I was tired, but teaching always gets me energized anyway. Fast forward, I went, delivered the training. It knocked it out the box. People who weren't even supposed to come to that training came and told me that they were glad that they came because it was the best training that they had had. I mean, it was just really wonderful feedback, and it was great. It was good to feel that. My point in sharing this story with you is not so much the outcome, although the outcome was fabulous and I was quite relieved, but really to just remind myself that all the work that we're doing to improve, elevate, upgrade ourselves doesn't mean that all of these emotions that we're trying to evolve past, the behaviors that we're trying to evolve beyond, are not going to show up from time to time. There will be times when your old self meets you, where your old behaviors visit you. And rather than looking at them as a defeat or with judgment, why am I still feeling this? I should be so evolved, blah, 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 blah. I try to look at those visits as an opportunity for a quiz. That's your pop quiz. Life gives us lessons, then we get the big tests, and then we get the little pop quizzes. And the pop quizzes that we get along the way are just meant to check in with us to see how are you doing with your curriculum. And that's all it is. My momentary lapse, my momentary setback when I was feeling those feelings of anxiety and da-da-da-da-da, it was to show me, where I am in my consciousness and where my growth, and how quickly am I able to activate the tools and the techniques that I've been learning, that I've been working, that I've been teaching to heal, course correct, and take care of myself. It's a pop quiz, all of those visits. So we get revisited in our romantic relationships when that old self, that old insecurity sort of pops up and maybe has you acting in a way that's not quite as cool as you'd like to act, or maybe a little bit of desperation shows up that you thought that you were past. Here it is again. The people pleasing. Maybe you thought you advanced past it. Here it comes again. The overeating, indulging in bad foods. Okay, I had an Oreo, or I had a this, or I that, right? It's not meant to say, oh, you're a complete loser because you haven't got it together by now. But it's not also an opportunity to say, well, it didn't work. I'm just going to, let it go and just fall back into my old ways. They're pop quizzes. When we're visited, when we get these visits from our old self, our old behaviors, our own consciousness, and they show up, they're opportunities for us to see, where are we? Where are you? Where am I right now in this part of my journey with this particular behavior, with this particular way of thinking, and what else can I do to push myself a little bit further up the evolutionary scale when it comes to this particular piece, this particular way of being. And so again, it's not meant to judge. I could have said, oh my gosh, Marty, you're feeling this again. You're a life coach and you're this and that, and you're feeling insecure because somebody said that they didn't like your work, or blah, blah, blah. Or I could say, you know what? Here it is again. Here's the quiz. Here's the behavior. Here are the feelings. What are you going to do about it now that's different than what you would have done about it when you were in your 20s, or you were in your teens, or you were in your 30s, or even in your 40s, right? So my message to you this week is, particularly on February 1st, I want you to do a couple of things. One is this weekend, and my people in my Upgrade Your Life, you already got this assignment, my Upgrade Your Life tribe. Use this weekend as an opportunity to reflect on your January. The month just passed, right? And every month, every week, it's good to sort of check in with yourself so that you don't find yourself 12 months from now looking around wondering, what happened? Where did my life go? Where did my year go? If you can regularly look back and evaluate how you did, what you accomplished, what you didn't accomplish, it gives you an opportunity to, again, course correct. That's my big word, course correct, and get it together. So going into the next month, you can do a little bit better, have a little bit more success. So this weekend, two things. One is I want you to really take some time to think about your January and how did your January go, what worked, what didn't work. But also, more importantly, for this message, I want you to think about, where did your old self show up this past month? As you were working, as you were living, as you were loving, going about your daily life, where did the old behaviors come up? Where were you visited by that former self that you're trying to grow a little bit out of as you grow more fully into your true purpose, your true, more confident, more poised, more successful self, again, as you define success? Where did those old behaviors show up, and how did you manage them? Again, when we're visited by these old behaviors, these old fears, it's an opportunity for us. It's the pop quiz. Where am I in this part of my life? And what can I do to move myself a little bit forward? I want you to think about, were there times this past month, this past week, even today, where a behavior that you thought that you were past, whether it's being angry or anxious or fearful, tongue twister, showed up? And how did you respond to that? I want to encourage you, as this week continues to go forward and you go forward in this new month, really be mindful of the fact that as long as you're alive, unless you're truly like enlightened to the point of, I don't know, Eckhart Tolle, Mother Teresa, Deepak Chopra, I'm not there, don't plan to get there. I'm working, but I don't see myself getting up to that place where nothing ever bothers me. I believe that as long as we're living, there's always going to be that part of us, a part of our old way of thinking, our old being, that's going to show up in our relationships, show up in our finances, show up in our careers, show up at work. And the key is not to beat yourself up about it or to completely give up and just throw your hands up, throw the towel in, but to ask yourself, why am I being revisited or visited by this old way of thinking, being, this old way of seeing? What can it tell me about who I am right now? And how can I move forward? What tools have I created? How can I draw on the tools that I have accumulated through my trainings, through my workshops, through my readings, that can help me manage this differently than I did before? Because that's where the growth is. It's not that we never feel anxious. It's not that we never feel fearful. It's that we learn over time, with practice, with consistent energy, consistent attention, not to stay in that state of anxiousness, not to stay in that state of fearfulness longer than we have to, and surely not as long as we used to. The idea, once I identify this is where I am right now, what can I do right now? What have I learned to help me move through this behavior and onto the other side of this, so I can actually start to do some things to address whatever it is that's causing me to have this feeling. And I was really proud of myself that I was able to do that with my particular client. Again, I let myself feel it. I didn't beat myself up about it. I recognized it, went, watched some Netflix, chilled out a little bit, came back, opened up to my client, admitted that I missed the mark, asked what I could do to course correct, and ended up having a stellar, and I mean stellar, training session. It wasn't easy to get to that though, because I had to really talk to myself a lot, because there was a moment, not as long as it used to be, but there was a moment where I was letting all that stuff just overtake me, and it got a little bit overwhelming. But again, because I've created some tools, I've learned some things, I've accumulated some information that helped me to move through it more easily. I didn't fall down and stay down and overreact like I used to back in the day. So the message, you will, when you are trying to come up higher, when you're trying to achieve something different, it's inevitable. You will meet your old self on a regular basis. Rather than being beat up by that, rather than being defeated by that visit, look at it as a pop quiz. This is going to let me know where I am right now in this area of my growth. Draw on your tools that you have accumulated, do your work, and grow through it onto the other side, because there's always something positive on the other side of every lesson, every pop quiz that we experience. Don't be defeated by it. Be educated by it. Be informed by it, and then move forward. That's it. That's my message for today. That's my message for this week. If you have any questions, have any comments, I really enjoy getting feedback and questions and comments. I like the little back and forth that we have. It makes it worthwhile. It makes it interesting. And it also gives me an opportunity to learn something different. So if you have a feedback, a comment, a question, or a suggestion as to how you're able to move through, those moments where the old you comes for a little visit, let me know. Let me know in the messages. In the space here. Hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, on my email, and let's chat about it, okay? So that's my message for the week. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Take care of yourself and the people that you love, and I'll see you soon. Bye.